Hello, good morning. My name is Ritu Boswell. I am going to be the moderator as well as one of the presenters for this morning. Welcome to Supporting Online Teaching and Learning, where instructional design, learning management system, student support, and library resources converge. So I'm going to give it another minute and then we'll go ahead and get started at 9:03, and then I will go ahead and pass it over to Holly Davenport. So we'll just give it another minute. And as always, if you have any questions, you can go ahead and put it into the chat. We have a Q&A at the end of our presentation today. So if you want to put in the chat, we can always get back to it, or you can wait until the end to be able to ask. And we appreciate you joining us today. Okay, so Holly, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen and I'm going to go ahead and let you take it over.
Okay, thank you. All right, good morning, everyone. So as Ritu mentioned, our session is all about supporting online teaching and learning, and we're going to look at kind of the intersection of instructional design, the learning management system, student support, and library resources. Okay, so my name is Holly Davenport. I am the interim director of the Department of Online Education and Support, often referred to as DOES. I am joined by Helen Kyer, Director for Learning Management Systems, also in DOES, Ritu Boswell, Student Success Manager, again in DOES, and Kate Colley, Assistant Professor and Web and Emerging Technologies Librarian. Okay, so here is kind of a snapshot of what we'll be discussing today. So we will look at some background, kind of define a few things, look at the growth of online education very broadly, look at the online landscape at John Jay, and then we will get into each of our respective areas: instructional design, learning management system, student support, and library resources. And then at the end, we will discuss how we can bring all of these things together to better support faculty and students. And I will say that there is an exciting thing happening at the campus this semester. We are launching our first undergraduate online program, and it is a online transfer program for a Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice. So in preparing for this big launch, lots of people from across campus came together to discuss how to best support this audience. And so through all of those conversations and many, many meetings, we came to the conclusion that there are a lot of people at the on campus that really, have a soft spot for this initiative, and everybody wants to see this be, a huge success. So we will do our best. Okay. All right. So getting into some of the background and definitions. So distance education was defined as a method of teaching where the student and the teacher were physically separated. And so the instruction could happen in a variety of ways, everything from a correspondence to audio, video, and then moving to computers and the internet. And so from this, we know that distance education is not a new way of teaching. It can be traced back to the 18th century. So you think back to original correspondence courses where huge packets of information were sent via the United States Postal Service. Whoever was in need of this instruction would receive this. The whole initiative was self-paced. They would read through all of these materials and then complete whatever assignment or test was required at the end, mail that huge packet back, and then receive whatever grade or credential that came from that endeavor. With the 1990s, we see a big growth in online education. And so we have, the internet is much more prevalent. Computers are in most schools, many homes. And so then that brings about the kind of birth of online education. And so that's when computers and the internet are delivering about 80% of the content online. Okay. So now further defining things, if we look at modes of instruction as defined by CUNY, there are kind of three broad categories. We have online classes, hybrid classes, and in-person classes. Online classes can be distinguished between asynchronous, where 100% of the content is delivered online. There are no real-time meetings, nothing happening on Zoom or Blackboard Collaborate. Everything is online. And then there is online synchronous, where again, all of the material is being delivered online, but there are regularly scheduled real-time meetings. Hybrid classes are a combination of in-person and online. So material is being offered to students online, but there is a face-to-face on-campus component. And students need to be careful when signing up for these classes. They just need to be mindful of when those face-to-face meetings are. And then we have in-person classes, which are the very traditional on-campus classes that I think we have all experienced. There's a physical classroom involved. There are specific dates and times. And then instructors are, of course, encouraged to enhance the learning experience by posting materials on Blackboard and just making things a little bit easier on the students. Okay. So looking at the growth of online education, and this is a very broad view of looking at data for all of the United States. And so we see here in this chart or this graph that there's a big spike in 2020. The yellow or the reddish bar denotes students taking at least one online course, whereas the darker kind of navy blue bar are students who are totally online, either through a program or they've just elected to take all online courses. So of course, 2020, there's a big spike. You know, it's attributed to the COVID-19 pandemic. We all remember this. Everything was shut down. We all had to very quickly pivot. It was a rocky time. But through that, bore kind of more acceptance of online education, if you will. So now in 2021, of course, there's a little bit of a decline here. But if you compare 2021 to 2015, it's a pretty significant increase. And so this kind of tells us that online education is going from being a trend to a more mainstream idea in higher education. Okay, so some further facts for you. This kind of first group of numbers, we're looking at students who are taking at least one online course. And what we can get from this is that it is slightly more popular among undergraduates at four-year colleges and at public institutions. So 61% of undergraduates versus 56% of graduate students took at least one online course. 58% of students at four-year schools take at least one online course versus 65% at two-year schools. And then 63% of public college students versus 53% of private college students, again, took at least one online course. And then some survey results below. Many students surveyed had positive things to say about their experience with online learning. So 96% would recommend online learning. 93% of graduates said their online degree will result in a positive return on investment. And then 3/4 of students said online education was better than or equal to in-person learning. Okay. All right, so now looking at the online landscape at John Jay, amongst the CUNY schools, John Jay has a rather impressive portfolio of online programs. So we have 8 fully online graduate programs, 5 advanced certificates, and then this fall we have our new undergraduate transfer program. And then over the past 2 years, we also completed the Online Excellence Project, which was an initiative that allowed academic programs and departments, all on the undergraduate side, to select faculty to partner with instructional designers to create model courses that could then be used for online or hybrid sections in the future. So it gave kind of a good baseline of some solid online offerings to be offered in the future. Okay, so shifting into kind of the various aspects of supporting online teaching and learning, I will take on the part of instructional design. And so instructional design is a term I think we all have heard, we all talk about, but the kind of the roots of it were laid, the foundation of it rather, was laid in World War II. And so this was when we had hundreds of thousands of soldiers and they needed to be taught very specific tasks in not a lot of time. And so individual tasks were broken down from very complex ideas into meaningful, kind of marching orders, if you will. And so it made the tasks easier for the soldiers to comprehend and easily execute. And so if you think about the term chunking, if you're familiar with that term, that's a big term that is used in the instructional design field. This is exactly what it is. We're taking big, complex ideas and distilling it down into bite-sized chunks, and it makes it a little more easily digestible for the learner. Okay. And so this approach led to the field of instructional design, and that marries education, psychology, and communications. And it's all to create the most effective teaching plans for specific groups of people. And an instructional design initiative or endeavor is not one size fits all. So, when we talk about here specific groups of people, the instructional design plan or suggestions would be wildly different for a science class versus a foreign language course. Likewise, instructional design is not a field that only exists in education. We see it in government, corporate America, and on and on. So with instructional design, we're ensuring that students receive instructions in a way that's effective and meaningful for them, and it makes just the topics easier to comprehend. Okay, so shifting to instructional design at John Jay, instructional designers, or as we call them, IDs, just to save time and because we all love acronyms, IDs partner with faculty to help create online learning experiences that really exemplify best practices. So the collaboration with faculty is key here because the faculty member in this partnership, they are the subject matter expert. So they make all decisions regarding curriculum and setting the pace, the tone of how the subject will be relayed to the student. So the instructional designer's role is to take all of that into account and then think of how to approach the content from the learner's perspective. So we're looking at ways to alleviate confusion and hopefully encourage deeper engagement with the content. So instructional designers focus on the design of learning activities, the structure of the navigation, and the general look and ease of use. So when students enter their Blackboard course, for example, they know exactly what to do and where to go. We don't want people having to click 15 times to find everything they need to complete an assignment for a week. So that's kind of what they help to do. Another thing is instructional designers are keenly aware of best practices, and they make sure that all courses that they work on meet the OSCAR standards. So OSCAR is the Open SUNY Course Quality Review rubric. And so if you're familiar with something like Quality Matters, or even Blackboard has their own rubric for online excellence, OSCAR is the version that the college has chosen to adopt. And so the instructional designers are very adept at making sure the courses that they work on meet all 50 standards. So one thing to be very, very clear, instructional designers do not in any way decide or contribute to the academic content of the course. That is solely on the shoulders of the faculty member or the subject matter expert in this case. Okay. And then finally, if all of that wasn't clear, so what do they actually do? So they provide suggestions based on best practices to ensure that the students are exposed to a high quality learning experience. So it's all for the benefit of the student. Everything that is happening here is to make sure that the student has a good learning experience. So they carefully consider how students learn and then the materials needed to effectively help individuals achieve their academic goals. Okay. So with that, I will hand it over to Helen to talk about the learning management system.
Thank you, Holly. The Learning Management System, or otherwise abbreviated as LMS, is an online environment for the administration and delivery of courses and digital course materials. The LMS platform, as it's deployed at CUNY, can be used by all courses and all teaching modalities, not just those for online or hybrid courses. CUNY creates a course shell in the learning management system for all courses that bear a CUNY First designation. So if your course is something students can log into CUNY First and register for, it'll appear in Blackboard. John Jay enjoys a very robust adoption of LMS courses across all teaching modalities. Over the last several years, and this is pre-pandemic, this was a statistic that we saw even for a few years leading into the pandemic. Approximately 97% of all John Jay students are enrolled in at least one course that's active in the LMS. So this is a course by which not just one that may have appeared in one of our online degree programs or had been a hybrid course, but could have been a face-to-face course that was the instructor elected to use Blackboard. That 97%, it hovered within a degree or two of variation for about the last 10 years now. So, some years it was 98, some years it was 96, but it was approximately 97. Since the pandemic, we have seen that nearly 90% of all John Jay courses, again, across teaching modalities, utilize the LMS. We define this as the course was made available to students by the instructor. Pre-pandemic, we still had been pretty high and had one of the highest utilization rates in all of CUNY. Pre-pandemic, we hovered at about 68, 69%, but after the pandemic, we're still at 90, and that's holding pretty constant. Holly, can you move to the next slide, please? Thank you. Course materials in the LMS extend and enable cross access to those course materials, especially for students receiving ADA accommodations. Anyone who's taught knows you have to hand out a piece of paper in your classroom, but your students who may be visually disabled may have difficulty accessing that material, even though you've given it to them. If that material is then optimized and posted to the LMS, it can be accessed by programs such as Dragon Naturally Speaking and JAWS and other assistive technologies that are used by students receiving ADA accommodations. So we do encourage all faculty, whether or not you're teaching an online class, to use their course materials wisely, put them in the LMS so that they can be used by all. As I indicated earlier, CUNY currently hosts our courses on Anthology's Blackboard platform. However, over the next 2 years, CUNY will be transitioning the LMS to D2L's Brightspace university-wide. John Jay is going to be one of the first schools adopting the new program, and we are currently scheduled to begin offering classes in winter and spring 2024 using Brightspace. We will be conducting webinars and other training activities for faculty, staff, and students this fall. The Department of Online Education Learning Management Support Team offers assistance to faculty, staff, and students through a variety of means. We offer email support. That is the best way to get us because any emails you may send to the LMS support team reach multiple people at the same time. So if one of us are unavailable, one of my other members of my team can get back to you pretty quickly. And I'll put the 2 email addresses into the chat in a moment. I do want to caution everyone, I'm going to put in our current email addresses. As we transition to the new LMS, those email addresses will change, but they will be publicized and then forwarded on. We will be offering our webinars. For example, yesterday we had our start of the semester checklist webinar, and over the next 2 weeks, we will be holding a number of open Q&As for faculty. We also do generate some help documentation that's available through our website. I've posted the link already in. You can find the Blackboard webinar links and our help documentation links there. and we will be creating some new ones highlighting the new functionality in Brightspace. Holly, I can now pass it along to our next speaker.
Okay, thank you. So let's talk about student support. So we've been able to kind of build out the class and be able to make it, with the accommodations necessary, put it into the LMS. Now let's talk about the virtual services that we can provide for our students to ensure that they are as successful as they possibly can be in an online environment. So the number one thing is step one. There's usually about 5 or 6 steps that we talk about, but step one is we have to align our goals and services with the students and the students' needs. So that means that we need to speak with them, talk with them, and identify what their needs are and align all of our services to what their needs are. We have to look and develop different support systems and test supports. So what does support look like via Zoom? How do they get additional help? What does office hours look like if there's no physical office to go to? That's providing academic support. That's providing open hours to students via Zoom or Google Meet, and being able to identify and make sure that those times are available for all students, maybe not just 9 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock or 9 to 12, maybe offer extended hours for those that are working full-time and unable to attend an office hour in the morning. It's giving, obviously giving different ways that they can meet up with our professors as well. And then we talk about how we communicate strategically with our students. I think we can all know that John Jay tends to over communicate with our students quite a bit. And so a lot of our communications with our students may get lost. So we have to really think about what is specific for those online students that maybe our campus students don't really need that email, or the other way around, where our students that are attending in-person classes probably need, our online students don't need to know what's happening at the campus regarding their classes if they're attending in-person classes. So we really have to be more strategic on how we communicate with our online students and meet with them where their needs are. Look at social media as a way to communicate. We all know that everyone checks their Instagram, and then now they have TikTok, and there's various platforms that are showing up and popping up now that students are joining in. So how can we ensure that coverage is there as well? And maybe even think about creating specific Facebook groups or Instagram profiles that they can identify with and join in on. I know Instagram has a broadcast channel now through their account. So if you have students join that, you can actually make a one-way announcement to those students and let them know kind of what's happening. And then now that we've talked about a little bit about like how to communicate with the students, let's talk about determining staffing. Students need to know that there is one person in a pinch that they can go to. So one person is the main contact. Myself, I am the student success coach for our John Jay Online students, our graduate students. So they receive a different email from me that's a non-academic related email that provides them an open and comfortable space to be able to come to me and talk to me about anything that they might be experiencing or having any issues or hurdles of completing their coursework. I am not someone that can determine their grade. I have nothing to do with them academically, but I can provide them the support that they may need emotionally to be able to help get them through that hurdle and connect them with the right people to get them past their issue onto their next part of their class. So I think staffing is really important when we think about identifying just 1 or 2 people that these students can come to. And then finally is meeting where their needs are. Talking to them on their first day of class and just, maybe sending them a text and just asking them, hey, how are you doing? And we have various platforms that we can do that on, such as Signalvine, or Navigate EAB, where we can text our students and saying, hey, here's some questions. Have you heard from your professor? Is your class available on Blackboard? what do you need from us? And we allow them to kind of tell us what they need, so then we can identify and determine what has to come next and how we can be able to support them a little bit better. So these are all things that we have to keep in mind when we look at the student and supporting the student as they continue through their endeavor. So we make the class really well for them and accessible and palatable and exciting for them to be able to do. We create an LMS where they are able to log into their class, where they have the support if they need any tech support. And then now we have to talk about how we communicate with them in a way that addresses their needs as a student, because they are the driving force for our online programs. And so now I'm going to go ahead and give it to Kate, who's going to talk about the library services, which is just phenomenal at John Jay and what they've done so far.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. If you haven't met me in person or over Zoom, my name is Kate Colley. I'm the Web and Emerging Technologies Librarian here at the Lloyd Staley Library. So today, the essential takeaway that I would like to impart on you all is just that the library is an essential part of our community, our academic community. And just as we exist in the physical realm, which we very much do. We're on campus. I'm on campus today, but we also exist online. And it's very much possible to engage with library resources from a 100% online remote environment. So today I wanted to give some really tangible actionable things that can be incorporated in your curriculum that aren't difficult, that could take 10 minutes or less. So firstly, the library has tutorials that can be embedded in your Blackboard or in your curriculum. A few that I recommend are listed here. And actually this fall, I'm working on a project to extend our collection of online tutorials. So I'm very excited about that. So please keep an eye out, because this list will continue to grow. Holly, I think, is going to click into one of the shorter videos just to demonstrate how some of these videos work. Here we are.
Are you hearing anything? I'm sorry.
No.
Let me stop sharing. I was like, oh, I wonder. Okay, I'm sorry. 1 second.
So I think by virtue of you all signing up for this particular panel today, you have probably engaged with the library and librarians on campus. So I thank you all for that. But outreach is really important to the library. And I know, and I would ask if you're discussing with your colleagues that if you could plug the library and let them know that we exist online. And I'll talk more about the resources that I have on this slide, including that we give instruction classes. These are all resources that we want to really get the word out more and more. Okay, Holly, I think. Okay.
Video covers how to find articles using OneSearch. Step 1. Formulate your research question or topic. In this video, our example question is, how does the use of emoji affect communication? Step 2. Identify the keywords in your question or topic. Here, the main concepts are emoji and communication. These will be our keywords. Now go to the library's homepage and type the keywords you just identified into this box. Then select Limit to Articles and hit Search. Okay, scroll through the entire first page of results at least. An article that you might love might not be at the top of the search results. Every search result here lists the article's title in blue, along with more information about its authors and where it was published below. I can also open up this search result to see more information about this article, including the description or the article abstract, which summarizes what the article is about. If I read through this abstract and decide that yes, I do want to read through the entire article, I can then click this View Online link to open up the article in a new tab. I can then read the article right here on my screen. I can also select Download PDF to save the article to my computer. Some tips for finding articles. First, look through multiple articles. The first one you look at might not be relevant to your topic. Also, mix and match different keywords. We just tried emoji and communication, but I would also suggest looking for emoji and message and emoticon and communication, for example. Also, use OneSearch filters to narrow down your search results. Watch the next video for more tips on finding articles in OneSearch.
How can you sleep on such a firm setting?
Yeah.
So this is just one example of the many tutorial videos that we have on our YouTube channel, and they will continue to grow. But for example, finding keywords is always a question that comes up in my information literacy classes. So I know students are struggling with this. And I have had the pleasure of working with other faculty members and presenting at other faculty development days who have successfully incorporated these videos and created matching assignments for their students so that they can familiarize themselves with the library even before they come for instruction class. So this is something that students definitely demonstrate that they need and is available through the library. In terms of an online environment, there is a library modular on Blackboard. So a lot of our links, essential links and most used resources are promoted through Blackboard. And I do want to put actually our website link in the chat. Let's see. But the third bullet point, we also have a faculty online toolkit, which outlines some of the essential resources for digital learning. Holly, if you don't mind clicking into that. So this is a consolidated list of online resources from the library. I think most importantly, honestly, is the online library instruction. We have a really strong department of instructional librarians. We're teaching a lot of classes this semester and will continue to. And ever since, I think since the pandemic, we've gotten really comfortable and teaching over Zoom. So that's been kind of one of the benefits. So if you are teaching an online class, librarians are available to teach over Zoom. So you can request that for your students, especially if they're working on research projects and have questions about how to use library resources. We are very much available digitally online. Again, we have that Blackboard presence. Holly, if you don't mind scrolling just down the page a little bit, please. There's a question, students often have questions about what they have access to as online students. So there's more information about that. We also have some suggested resources. So there's a lot of information in the toolkit for faculty that is teaching 100% online. So I would point you to that resource. Of course, if you have further questions about these resources, you're always welcome to reach out to me or one of my colleagues. We are available at all times. If you could switch back to the slides, please. Yeah, so lastly, and I've mentioned this, but I feel like it can't be stressed enough. We love teaching. We love doing our one-shot classes. We're happy to do them in the library classroom, but if you are teaching digitally, we will also be available over Zoom to teach library instruction classes. So please, as you're creating your curriculum for the semester, incorporate a library instruction class. please tell your colleagues to do the same. I love working with the students, and most of my colleagues, all of my colleagues do as well. So yes, Holly, you can switch to the next slide, please. Okay, so I've made this point, and I think we all have made this point. So it doesn't necessarily have to be difficult to incorporate these resources, especially because we have instructional designers and librarians and DOES and a lot of support on campus. So these resources are easily accessible. We are bringing the campus services online. So remember to close the loop, ensure that questions are given adequate responses, follow up with your colleagues. I'll hand it over to Holly to talk about CJBS and the community of practice and how they've kind of demonstrated this through CGBS.
Great, thank you. So yes, bringing this all together, we have learned a lot through this experience of working on the undergraduate side. So a few examples of how this has been kind of brought together to better support the entire community is one is the CJBS community of practice. And so of course, I think it's probably obvious, but just in case, criminal justice Bachelor of Science is the CJBS part. And the community of practice is bringing together all of the faculty who are teaching this semester in this new cohort of 100% online students. So we're bringing the faculty together and we're having monthly meetings with them to check in on how things are going. So it's not just like we've built the car and here you go, you know, just good luck. We want to keep up with everyone and make sure that is the instruction clear? Do students know what to do? Are you struggling with anything with your students, with the content? And then in subsequent meetings, we will be bringing in other people from the campus. So Ritu will be joining us at the next meeting to talk about student support. How can they engage Ritu to better help the students get their questions answered quickly? The student success essay, everything is an acronym, Ritu, so please help me. Student academic success programs, is that right?
Yeah.
SASP?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
They will be joining us as well.
Yeah.
And so it's all just a big effort to make sure that this group is well supported. So it's not just that, you know, okay, the semester has started, good luck to everyone. We want to make sure that we've been, you know, purposeful and intentional all the way across. So student success people will be joining us. Gina Foster will be joining us. Different people from the faculty community will be joining as well. And so it's just a nice way to build community around this initiative. And then another example of how this is coming together is the offering of UGR 80, which is an online student success workshop. So this is a 0 credit course that is being offered to these students. It's, you know, of course, up to them whether or not they want to avail themselves of this or not. But it is just a course that has weekly meetings, and different people from the campus community are invited to each session to help them with, you know, what do you need to know from the library to help you better prepare for some of the assignments that exist in your course. You know, midterms are coming up. What are some suggestions to help you better prepare? You know, time management skills, career services, all of those things will be coming together in one course available to these students. So those are just a few quick examples. I think one thing that we have learned, the people on this panel, is that there are a lot of people on campus invested in this. And so a lot of times we're very siloed and we have our blinders on and we only think about what we're doing. But there are so many other people on campus that have other things to contribute to this initiative. And it's not just CJBS transfer program, but it's, you know, the success of all of the students. You know, if they're just digital learners taking a variety of those types of courses that we talked about earlier, or solely online students, there's a lot of people here to help. Okay. Panelists, have I left anything out? Anything you want to add?
We have
a question in chat
yes.
regarding UGR.
Yes, Judy, yes. UGR 80 is a synchronous online class. Thank you for making that distinction. And so, yes, it is just a class that has weekly Zoom meetings. I believe, I don't know if it's Tuesdays or Wednesdays, like at 5 p.m. Yes. Okay, I'll go to the next slide. So here is our contact information. Again, I have put the link to the slides in the chat. So I know that there are a lot of links, peppered throughout this presentation, and when you're just sitting back watching it, you can't access them. So hopefully you'll be able to get at all of those by clicking that link. We are all available if you have questions for us. And then we have our references, and then here's our final slide. But with that, I do want to open it up to questions. And I can actually stop sharing if we want to see one another. Ritu, are people able to talk?
Yes, they raise your hand. I can unmute them.
Okay.
I believe everyone should be able to unmute themselves.
Would you mind if I took Keith's question in chat?
Yeah.
Please.
Keith, to my knowledge, there's no software that can automate multiple documents and optimizing them for accessibility, but that's more of a question for Do It than for us.
Keith, if you have Adobe Acrobat as part of the Adobe suite, there is an accessibility checker in there that can kind of more quickly pinpoint the issues that may be occurring in your PDFs. It is a slow and tedious process, but there is at least that tool.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
Hi. I had to come on and say hello, but I do have a question. It was a terrific presentation. Thank you. The question is, as far as the community of practice, there'll be weekly meetings. They are in person, they're asynchronous they're synchronous on Zoom. Are there any platforms that you're using that would, be an ongoing platform for communication for the faculty who are teaching?
So it is a monthly meeting, and they are just happening on Zoom right now because we have one faculty member who is in Greece, so it's just not practical to bring everybody to campus. So there are monthly Zoom meetings, and there is a CUNY Commons site being created to just house documentation. I don't know that we plan to turn on the communication aspect. You can, leave comments and things like that in there. I don't know. We've had one meeting so far, so we're very much in the building stage of this. But those are good questions, and perhaps, maybe Microsoft Teams would be a way to facilitate, additional communication that's happening in between. A lot can happen within a month,
If I can offer it, if the department would wish it, another option we can make available to them in addition to Teams would be a Blackboard organization for all of the faculty within that program or within that department. So that would give us all the functionality of the Blackboard platform in terms of hosting documentation and discussion board and providing contextual experience of Blackboard for the faculty from perhaps a student perspective, which it can be very informative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great suggestion.
Yeah, no, I just recently I've seen a number of platforms that are looking to offer this exact to meet this exact need, various communities of practice, whether it's faculty, staff, or students. So that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I don't want to have a staring contest with anyone, which is what happens at the end of these sessions.
I have another question. I just didn't want
please.
to monopolize if others had questions. I'm just curious about the process with the YouTube video. Does the remuneration for the ads come back and get funneled into the library? And if so, I'd be curious to hear what the process was like to get that approved and implemented. I'm wondering if academic departments could emulate that process.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah,
The
when you played the library video,
Yep.
there were YouTube ads. And I was
Yep.
curious if the YouTube ads were funneling money back into the library. And if so, if you could talk about the process of how that works.
I do not think so. As far as I know, there is no monetary gain from the ads that are being displayed. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you could speak more to that. I don't know very much. We have a free YouTube profile that we upload to. Is there a way for the library to have monetary gains that I should be made aware of?
I think that's just like the cost of having your videos there. I honestly don't know. We do have access to a different video platform that we put all of our instructional videos on that, for the online programs that eliminate ads and all of that. So if the library wanted to participate and move videos there, we could then, at least remove the ad aspect of this equation.
There is a certain accessibility of YouTube that I think resonates with our students.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I will not keep you. If there are no more questions, I just want to thank you so much for starting your day with us. I wish you a very successful semester. I hope it's smooth, stress-free. I know that's not likely, but we can hope. But thank you again all so much for being here today.
Thank you so much. And the recordings will be available on the TLC website after today, if you ever want to go back and review any of the recordings from today's session or any other session or today's, like right now, or any other sessions from today. So we thank you very much for allowing us to start your morning and start your day. So we hope that you have a great rest of the day and you enjoy all the other presentations that TLC has to offer for Faculty Development Day.